Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Shane Bentley. I'm with Daniel Purcell. This is the first trailer episode of the Bears of the Oath podcast. This has been something we've been talking about doing for, say, the last month or couple months. Something I've always wanted to do. Never really knew which direction to take it in, but over the last since November, I've had the opportunity to be involved with Daniel, and he's shared my ventures that I would like to have with him, and he's made all of this come possible with his media group, Redbird Media. So again, this is the first one, so you'll have to forgive us or forgive me for rambling or overstepping a few things that I'm not familiar with how to do this yet tonight, but we'll get the kinks worked out of it. Um, Really, where we're going to start is this is all built around the fire service, family fire service, um, where we are today with the Bears of the Oath program. Um, the great opportunity that not only the fire service has afforded me, but um, just in the last short period of time with Bears of the Oath. So we'll get in and get started and talking about Bears of the Oath first. Talk about myself, introduce you to Daniel, um, and go from there. We are we are in my apartment in Cornelia, Georgia. I've always thought it'd be cool to have a podcast that actually took place while I was on shift, and I am on shift right now. Daniel's here. Um, he is a volunteer here at Cornelia Fire Department as well. So at any given time, we might have to pause and skip out on you, but again, we'll come back and pick right up. So let's get into the fun part of it for me. I've got a lot of questions, and I guess really why I wanted to start the podcast, and I've always been intrigued by them listening to other podcasts. What is Bears of the Oath, and where did it come from? It's extremely personal for me. It's something that I started with my own personal struggles about two and a half years ago, writing things down that I felt like I personally struggled with, um, with my family, my personal life, uh, and how I put the fire service in front of all that. Kind of used the fire service as my out. So what I ended up doing was I had a lieutenant years ago that I noticed when at the end of the evening he would take and end of the shift every evening he would take and write down in a journal the day's actions in the in the stall room of the firehouse, and it always intrigued me, and so I started doing that too, and I went back and started reading some of the things I'd wrote down over the years, and I thought, man, I said, you see goods and bads, of course, with what goes on every day in the fire service, and you watch yourself grow and learn from your successes and your failures. That's where your successes come from. I truly believe is your failures. So, but anyhow, I started writing down these things that I could relate to the fire service, but relate to where I personally struggled, and that was where the Bears of the Oath Code of Honor came from first. And for those of you that are curious or haven't seen that or know what that is yet, I'd like to share it with you because it is very personal. It's more personal to me, and I'll tell you why. I thought it would make me better to put this on the back of everybody that wanted to wear one of these sweatshirts because it holds me accountable. Every time I turn around, somebody's got one of these shirts on, and so my accountability is there. It has to be there because people want to wear on their back the things that I wrote on it, and most folks don't realize that it came from my personal struggles, personal failures. And so the Bearers of the Oath Code of Honor begins with save lives, protect property, be nice to our customers, be nice to each other, search every job, search every time, train till you do not get it wrong, train because your family deserves it, train because your company will want you rescuing their family, train because it's your job. Job equals work. Work builds character. Do not make your company look bad. Leave it better than you found it. Help each other be right, not wrong. Respect your crew, respect your company, respect every job as if it were a personal loss. Be loyal, show empathy, and be vulnerable. Do not show your vulnerability to everyone. Honor your oath you signed up for. Good enough is never good. Do not bitch. Do not walk past the problem you can fix. Do not become part of the problem, simply fix the problem. Become the standard, not the minimum standard, and screw what they think and do your job. So that's what's on the back of the sweatshirts. That's the first print of what we put on the hoodies, and I've had it down on paper for the longest of times, and used it just to reflect that all the time. But majority of it is it reflects fire service work. It reflects leadership. It reflects doing the right thing, not the wrong thing. Admitting your failures. Simply being a better person. Rising from your mistakes. So I took the reason I worded it the way I did is because starting from the very top, save lives, protect property. Of course, that's most every fire service's first mission statements: save lives, protect property. But yes, that's true in the sense, but that's also where I look at that as my personal failures with my family, and as a husband and as a father. So that's the aspect I took there, was save lives and protect property. My lives and my family and my property. That'd be my family. So that's from my wife to my kids and family all around, not just inside and outside the fire service, but all in general. But to save lives and protect property, that's very personal, because that holds me accountable to trying to be the absolute best husband and father that I can be. So, and as we go down through there, of course, every one of them, a lot of these came from what I heard mentors say. I got a lot of mentors, man. That's one of the things I truly believe in, is having multiple mentors. I think everybody needs mentors, and I don't think there should be a set number on what you should take and you should have as mentors. So, but that's where the oath came from. Then, like I said, I had it for a good couple years, and I had the ambition and the idea to put it on a T-shirt, and I thought it'd be cool, but I wanted it to mean something, and I wanted it to reflect family and the fire service, and doing your job and being that person that the fire service deserves, and that the customers deserve. So I had that, and then I showed it to a few people. I said, "Yeah, man, that's pretty cool. You need to take and do something with that." And I just, I didn't really know what I wanted to do or which direction I wanted to go. So I like to collect fire department memorabilia, especially antiques, history. So I got a 1794 fire marker plaque that's in my office here, and I was sitting in here one night, just strumming and playing with different designs on my computer, trying to come up with some kind of cool logo. And I think I showed it to you, did I not? And I just knew that it needed something to go with it, but I didn't want it to be just the average T-shirt or the average. I wanted it to be something that meant something. And so I was sitting in here one night looking at it. I had something on my mind, and I had a sweatshirt, one of the bears of those sweatshirt, the hoodies hanging on my door, and right above my door is this fire marker. And I looked up and seen the handshake right there that used to be. They don't even teach that. You don't even know most firefighters coming into the service nowadays don't even know what fire markers are, where they come from, because they don't teach it in fire service history anymore, or orientation, which is bullshit. So I looked up and I seen that handshake, and I thought, man, that's pretty cool. So I took and I started playing with it I got a graphics program that I play with sometimes, and I put it on my computer, and I kind of started playing with it, and I come up with the Bearers of the Oath, Patriots of Your Craft um, logo, and simple, black and white. You know, uh, it's got that bold look. Um, so this was probably beginning of December, and I showed it to a few people. Showed it to 4 people actually, that that I knew that would really give me their honest opinion, and the feedback that I got from them, it really made a difference in me moving forward with this. And this is, again, anybody that knows me, I think they realize that this is simply for anything that I get the opportunity to do is all about trying to help everybody else and anybody I can come in contact with. And I wanted everybody that I could to benefit from this. I wanted it to be a fraternity of firemanship that got anybody in the fire service felt like that they could come be a part of, and knew that they had guys there, brothers and sisters there to support them. So that's where it came from. So we started messing with some logo stuff and putting it on backgrounds and playing with it, and we came up with just the black and white. I showed it to Daniel, and we looked at it, and I showed it, like I said, I showed it to a few others, and said, we went with, let's get some hoodies made. Well, a friend of mine in South Georgia, I showed it to him, and he said, man, that's pretty badass, but it needs a mission statement. Just like everything else we do in the fire service, we got to have a mission statement. And so I had to sit, and one night I wanted it to be just like the oath. I wanted it to be bold and sincere, but I wanted it to mean something, and I wanted it to take and be welcoming. And then what I came up with was the description of it, about what the Bearers of the Oath is, and the mission statement simply states that our arrogance is fueled by passion, a passion for our craft, an expectation from our customers to be ready to answer every call. It is our diligence to be more prepared and mighty than the reason that they had to call for our help. If you do not understand this sense of arrogance, we as Bearers of the Oath will not alienate you. We will simply extend our hand to you and ask that you will evaluate yourself and your commitment to the fire service, therefore determining if you are that patriot or just another able being that does not belong to such a fraternity of firemanship. And so I sat around with that for 2 or 3 days, and I looked at it and walked away and looked at it again, and and I have a tendency sometimes to be overbearing with how I say things, and I wanted it to be bold, but I didn't want it to be I wanted it to be welcoming at the same time. And I showed it to some of the same people, and that's where the mission statement came from for Bearers of the Oath. So that is pretty much how Bearers of the Oath got started. We put an established date of 2020 on it. Shortly thereafter, I started thinking about, man, this is really cool. I had all these sweatshirts made up, and I said, I wanted people to want to wear these sweatshirts, not because to represent me, but I wanted them to wear them to hold me accountable. Because if people believed in what I had wrote down and how I felt about the fire service and how to treat people and how to do the right thing and how to do your job and respect the fire service and what it's really about, I knew that if I seen it on people's backs, it would hold me accountable. It would have to hold me accountable, because if I wrote it and didn't act it, you're just being a hypocrite and a son of a bitch, and I didn't want to be that person, because I don't think that's right. So my gain is every time I see it, which is pretty much daily now. Been very fortunate for people to want to be a part of this organization, to give them opportunity to do things in the fire service that they hadn't been able to maybe do before. Give them a place to go to do things, an avenue. But every time I see it and turn around and look at it, somebody's got that sweatshirt on and got that logo on, and extending that hand of fellowship, welcoming you to a fraternity of firemanship that holds me accountable to my family first and foremost, because if you look at the top of it, it says save lives and protect property, and that has to pertain to my family first and the fire service second. And I didn't do that for a long time. I was very selfish, still am. I'm I'm eat up. I'm infatuated with the fire service. Always have been since I got involved in it. So that's my gain from it. My accountability. I have to be held accountable because people. I get the opportunity and the privilege to be around a great group of individuals all the time that trust me, and they don't realize that a lot of them don't realize that they made me who I am, and I couldn't be where I'm at without these people. So, in a long opening paragraph and start, that's pretty much where all this has come from. The bearers of the oath. Um, it's very, very, very important to me. Um, Some it's just a guy. I heard a guy say a few weeks ago at Firefighter Weekend. He said, "Man, then bearers of the oath banners and sweatshirts, they make a hell of a fashion statement." And I had to bite my tongue and walk off. You know, but it's part of it. So, but anyhow, that's a little bit about me, and the bearers of the oath and where it's come from. What we're looking to do with this is. Myself and Daniel, as you see, is with me. Daniel Purcell. He's got a media group called Redbird Media Group. This is a venture that he and I came up with together that we want to take and we want to be able to take and make broadcasts and make the fire service better through the media and having people on here and getting their opinions, getting their feelings about it. You know, everybody's got difference of opinions, and some are good, some are bad. You know, some we don't agree with. There's always going to be that, especially through social media. So much negativity going on nowadays. I think it gets the positivity that what's happening in the fire service right now is totally overshadowed by the negativity, and that's terrible because there's so many things going on, especially since all this COVID-19 stuff has started. You look at everything that's happened online with online training. Man, guys like Sean Duffy and Ryan McCormick, man, just what they've been doing on Facebook Live, man. Kyle Ramagas, all those guys that you see that's online every night doing something, Brass Tacks and Hard Facts, Elkhart, you know. Man, there's so much good stuff online right now that can get you away from the negativity, because I can assure you, when you go to bed tonight, the numbers of this virus that our nation's fighting right now, they're going to go up again. That's one thing you can count on. But you can also take and find something else to study and read about that will enhance your knowledge. Just listening to good mentors talk about the fire service. So that's what we're looking to do. Daniel, I'm gonna change the tone a little bit and move to Daniel. Daniel, tell them about you, Daniel, if you don't mind. Introduce yourself. Tell them about you and how we've come together with all of this, if you don't mind.
Where would you like to start with that?
November.
Um, Before or after, I should say.
Let's start with before, because I think it's parallel to where we're at today in 5 months' time.
Okay.
I think that's. I got a text message earlier today from somebody that you know, that he will tell you 5 months ago he would probably not. He wouldn't look at you today the way he did if our paths wouldn't have crossed 5 months ago. And by no means it has nothing to do with me. It's all you. But he was very adamant about everybody knowing about you as well as the bearers of the oath, and I totally agree with that because you have made an impact in his life as well as mine and everybody else. So, floor is yours.
Okay. So to start off, I'll introduce myself. My name is Daniel Purcell. You might be thinking I'm a bit young, and it's because I am. I just turned 20. Before any of the interest came out for the fire service or public safety or anything like that, I started working with an online news publication in the area, and that's kind of how I broke into just noticing public safety and the fire service itself. I'd always go to wrecks, fires, anything that was newsworthy, anything that your mom would be asking about on Facebook when she was going to sleep. That's kind of the stuff that I would cover. And so I did that for about 5 years. And then it's finally, like you said, back in November, that's kind of when, pre November, that's kind of when I really started taking notice of not just the pictures that I was taking, but the people in the pictures and what they were doing and how they were helping. And it was from that that I really started to gain an interest in the fire service and kind of like what they do for and in the community, along the lines of not just your stereotypical, go down the road in a red truck, spray water, pack up, and go home. There's so much more that you don't notice that they do, and that's kind of I noticed. Aside from the journalistic photos that I was taking, I'd take time and actually take photos of the people who were doing the jobs, and through that, that's kind of where my interest really started. And what was it? November,
Day after Thanksgiving, I think.
Black Friday. Yeah, I remember it was on Thanksgiving Day. I posted a post on my personal Facebook page just thanking all of the first responders and public safety people that, just saying how thankful I was for what they do and genuinely thanking them for what they do in and for our community, because, I mean, a lot of them don't get the appreciation that I felt like they deserved. And so that was just me kind of saying thank you through the pictures that I have taken, but also just saying thank you for what they do. And I think it was the night of Thanksgiving. It was when Shane reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Hey, I'd like for you to come by the station and sit down and talk with me." And I was like, "Yeah, of course, sure." And this is before I had ever met Shane officially, so I was kind of excited and kind of nervous because I was like, "Oh no, what did I post?" I was genuinely worried about what we would be talking about, but at the same time, I was excited. So Black Friday. That evening, I came to the station and we sat down in Shane's office, just in that seat over there. And that was when he that was the first connection of someone outside of the journalistic side of things that I had done, when someone had really reached out and said, you know, I see what you're doing and I see that you're interested in this stuff, and not just in a way that it's kind of like it's your job, but it's something that you're truly interested and passionate about. And at the time, I didn't really see it myself. I've never been one to kind of see the talents or gifts that people say that I have, but I was like, yeah, of course, yeah, sure. And so it was, I think, through that conversation, that's when it really opened up to the passion and the interest that I have for the family and the organization that I've become a part of now. It just kind of opened up the door to all these new opportunities. And we probably sat and talked for two and a half hours.
I know we was flowing water that afternoon. You came up and we ended up hanging out, talking for 2 or 3 hours that evening. And that's when we, like I said, the first connection really started. And I learned more about you at that point in time. You'd also brought up some things that kind of aggravated me. I could tell through your pictures that the pictures that he takes, like you said, he was there reporting for a media outlet that he was representing, and he would you would see him right regular at calls, whether it was wrecks. Hell, we'd be at fire alarms at 2:30 in the morning. I'd turn and look around the corner, and there was that little white Jeep. And that instance that night, I really thought, we're at a fire alarm at 2:30 in the morning, and he's up coming to report a fire alarm. And so I took it upon myself to walk over to him and say, "Look, man, there's nothing to this. It's just a false alarm." Because the way I looked at it, if he got up at 2:30 in the morning to come do his job and report that there could be a possible structure fire, because they're all structure fires till we get there in my eyes, I wanted to let him know, thank you for coming out, and hey, everything's good here, man. I'm not going to leave him hanging, sitting up at the corner just because he's the media guy. So that kind of triggered me. I noticed that a few times. We had a couple wrecks that he showed up on that I watched, and then I started watching these pictures he was taking, and a lot of them were pictures that we were at working. One particular working structure fire at Urban Street that um, he was the pictures. Yeah, he was there to report the news, but he was the pictures that he was capturing of the firefighters and all the first responders there working in all the different departments. They were captivating to me because he was catching images and emotions that you didn't even know was being called at that time. And there was that really when I reached out to him on Thanksgiving, you know, my idea was behind it was I'm not even, I told him then, I said he's got a talent for this stuff, and I was amazed by the pictures he was taking, but I was, let's go ahead and back up a little bit. The stigmatism is honestly that he had was we assume before we know a lot of times, and that's not the fire service. That's just us being dumbass human beings sometimes. And there was, I didn't see him as hey, there's the media, there's the news guy, watch what you say. I seen him as, he's got. I've always tried to look at. They got a job to do too, and the media there's no doubt about the media, and it's always been that the media can make or break you, which is true. But we can also make or break ourselves, how we portray ourselves on and off scene or on and off duty. And so I just wanted to take and reach out to him and say, look, man, I want to build a relationship with you, and please, if there's something that you see that we can do better in portraying ourselves, please come to me and talk to me about it before we post anything negative, and I'll do the same to help you get your information as soon as we can. As soon as whether it's, Then I got to see him through his pictures too, man, that like, holy shit, this guy sees the same thing we see, good and bad, but he sees them through this magnified, clear image of really bad stuff sometimes. And, there's a lot of guys, I know there's been several times to where different agencies have, and it ain't just Daniel, it's any photographer, oh, there they are again, and I looked at it as, when I seen the quality of his photos and seen what he was, when I got to looking at it, I was like, man, I need to build a relationship with this guy, because not only with Bearers of the Oath, but I wanted to build a relationship for Cornelia Fire Department because of where we've come from in the last almost 2 years with Firefighter Weekend, Franklin County Firefighter Weekend. We were rolling up on the 4th annual Firefighter Weekend, and I think in November I mentioned to you about, hey man, I would love for you to be a part of Firefighter Weekend. This all came from the first conversation in November, pretty much. So I felt like that I could help change how he was portrayed, because his talents were so good, man. His talents with that camera were the quality of these pictures he was taking, all of the first responders and firefighters, was amazing. And it wasn't just Cornelia Fire Department, it was every fire department in Habersham County and there's White County and surrounding counties that he responds to all the time. Not with just fire, but with EMS as well, law enforcement. And so that was my goal, was to try to take and help me and him together, because I felt like that we needed his talents just like he needed to be with a good group of individuals that will take and give him the opportunity to showcase your talents. And as we got to knowing him, it didn't take long. I think after November, it was about every night you and Sunshine were around. And it's been great. It's been really cool. So I'll let you finish from there.
Yeah. So, just it started out as a simple conversation of just trying to build a relationship between what, at that point, it was just between a fire department and a media guy. But you could quickly tell that there was a lot more into it, deeper, just between the conversations and just the sit downs and just the encounters that we had, not even that night, but after that, just on different calls and on scenes and stuff, instead of the I don't know, there's just like the personal relationship instead of it being all strictly professional. You could tell that there was genuine, respect for each other.
Right, right. Yeah, there was the redheaded thing really. I think it was me and another friend of mine, good friend, Lee Humphreys. We were talking about redhead power one night in the engine bay, and Daniel come walking up, and I said, "There's another redhead." And I don't have the red hair that I used to have, but when I was a lot younger, it was very red, and I had the nickname. I had an uncle that, from the time I was very little, called me Redbird. From the time I was little, and he called me Redbird up until he died a couple years ago. So, and when Daniel come walking in that night, I was like, man, here comes Redbird, and that's where Redbird, the nickname kind of stuck, Redbird there, and so that's it was hanging around every night was, you could tell that he had, back to the conversation that we had in November in the office, he and if you had showed interest in being involved on this side, not just on the photography side, but inside of an actual as a firefighter. You could tell the questions you were asking, and there was a particular question that was asked of, could you do this? And I think the could you do this question is the best at times have questioned themselves in any job or any service that they provide. So, and I think, I know for a fact, I said, what the hell do you mean, can you do this? Yeah, you can do this if you want to do this. And I think a lot of the parallel to the story that folks, a lot of folks know, but, Daniel's right hand's not as strong as his left. He was born with a brain tumor. Here he is today, and that hadn't slowed him down a bit, and hadn't slowed his talents down. Well, and my answer was, well, yeah, you can do this. You carry that big ass camera around with that 14-foot lens on it. You can carry a hose and a nozzle around, and so, we touched on it that night. We touched on, hey, as you got coming around, we started talking about. I started telling you about we do a class every year in Livonia. That's I'm a volunteer firefighter at Livonia Fire Department too, in Livonia, Georgia, and this is our 10th year of we do a firefighter class, and I started mentioning to him, and he started and that's when he really started hanging around every night and got involved with us here and with PTing with us and doing some training. And the guy, I know Angela and some of the people here at Cornelia, everybody here at Cornelia really just kind of, they welcomed him in, just like that is the mentality that we have to have, I feel like, to create that culture that you want. And, Daniel's got, boy, he's the wit that he carries around, and, that's, he'll burn you quicker than anybody, and his humor and his quickness, everybody just took to it. But what was inspiring was watching you before we even got into January when class started. The whole month of December, you were always here. That was cool. So, as I think at one point it came up that somebody said that you wouldn't be able to do this job or something, and that's what really ignited me and pissed me off, because the way I looked at it, you carried your own weight, you could walk, talk, and breathe air. If you wanted to, you could do this job. And that's simply how I looked at it. I didn't give really two shits about one hand being stronger than the other one. And that's where and that's when, I got really excited about that. That's when the relationship for me started building. That's where it got really personal for me, because I've never been really good at losing. And damn sure don't like coming in second. And so that was kind of the attitude that I took about Daniel was, you know what, if you want this, we'll give it to you. You'll come get it. We'll help you get there. And he hadn't stopped. It's pretty it's pretty badass. So, and once he started when we started in this class, what, in January,
Yep.
he started developing his own path. Then he started building relationships with the people, um, really showing what uh, firemanship's about in my eyes. It was inspiring, and for those of you that when you hear this or if you listen to this and it interests you, um, you need to look at his media page on Facebook and look at some of his photographs. Look at the photographs of him, how he took a group of people in class and they all rallied around not just him but each other, and they formed a bond and a relationship. Man, that's the reward that I get out of it, is watching people develop a passion for the job of being a firefighter, no matter what, and putting in the work to do what it takes to be good at it. And just the basics. We hadn't even got anywhere past the basics, because the basics is the foundation of all of it. And so that's really that's what's got us to today. Would you agree?
For sure.
I think today, where we're at today is really, firefighter weekend was cool. Daniel got to meet a lot of people, got to showcase his talents. Man, it keeps getting better and better. Firefighter weekend does. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a whole nother event that we do annually in Franklin County. It's a pretty neat training weekend, and we'll talk about it later. But that opened the doors. That opened the doors for Bearers of the Oath and Redbird Media together, really, right there, because your talents is what's making Bearers of the Oath what it is now. And the backing and the people that's involved with Bearers of the Oath is, man, it's neat to watch. It's neat to watch everybody that's involved with the web page, all the support we've gotten, all the relationships that's been built from it. Man, it's really humbling and overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? It's just really cool to see where we're at right now, and where we're going to go and what we're going to get to do, because the fire service has been so rewarding to me. There is no way I would be who I am as a person in the fire without the fire service. There's no way, absolutely no way. The fire service has made me a better person, made me a better husband. My wife might disagree with that from time to time, but you know, your kids, you want your kids to take and look up to you and be proud of what you do. And to me, there's not a better job in the world than being able to be a servant and serve people and help people. So, and then to be around a great group of people, man, everybody I get to be involved with in the fire service is absolutely amazing. So, again, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and we're here with it. I sent out today a message on the web page, our Facebook page of Bearers of the Oath, you know, trying to get see what kind of buy-in we had, and man, it never fails. Some of the text messages I've received from my brothers and sisters in the fire service today, man, is just been reassuring that this is the right thing to do. There's again, man, there is something that is very important to me, and that is having mentors, and teaching others that it's okay to have mentors. I had a guy ask me one day, he said, man, who's your two mentors? I said, I ain't got two mentors. He said, man, you're crazy. You got to have two mentors. I said, man, I got like 30 mentors. And that's the truth, you know, and because I consider everybody I look to and learn from and then trust, I consider them mentors. And literally I got a message today from somebody that, a friend of mine, chief out in West Georgia, that, he said, bro, podcast, that's great news, and that was big, awesome news with the podcast, and to hear that from him, and that reassured me that this was a good thing to be doing, and just because, like I told Redbird earlier, that when guys like that take and reach out to you, and they're telling you, they're giving you positive reinforcement, you need to hear that. You need to hear that kind of stuff. People need to hear positive reinforcement. People need to hear. People also need to be told when it ain't right, it's not right. And there's a way to do that. And and I believe right now with the culture in the fire service that it's changing and it's getting better. And it's getting better because you got all of these small town fire services, or all of these guys in these fire services all over. Man, the state. I got some of the best friends all over the state of Georgia that they're doing the same things that inspire me to want to do the same things. And that's it's humbling. I think I think that's one of the things that people got to realize is it is okay to step outside of your comfort zone. Stay out of that circle. Find these guys in these groups that love being firemen, man, that want to be firefighters. That's, and that was part of what, the Bears of the Oath was. I wanted to take, in the last 5-6 years, I've got to travel around with my other job so much in the fire service. And, it started out as a sales gig. And I was real nervous about that when I started doing the sales side of it, selling fire equipment, fire trucks, things of that nature. And because I didn't want to be looked at as a salesman, and in my mind, I thought, man, I don't want to be looked at as a salesman. I wanted people to realize, to know that I was a fireman. I was a firefighter, and then it led to friendships, and then it led to training together. Then it led to, man, they got something going on there, I'll be there. Oh yeah, if they need something, they'd all. Then the sales thing was, it was secondary pretty much, and got to be, then it started coming full circle really, and before I really realized what was going on. But at that time, I wasn't ready for that. In my mind, I wanted to be ready for it, but I wasn't ready for it, and so I had to step back there for a little while. And I had to take and really look at the people that made a difference in my fire service career from day one to now, to then and to now. And some of the people that I thought was good influences on me and that I wanted to follow in footsteps, I realized that, hey, I don't need to do those, those people are not the ones I need to be following. And so I've kind of zeroed in on myself, and I had to say, what do I really want to do? I love being a firefighter. At that time I was a driver at the city of Toccoa. Being able to be the driver and one of your best friends being the captain in the engine with you, and man, it was that was awesome at the time. That is one of the best experiences I had as a firefighter in the fire service, because the same fire department that I started at, my first captain was now my chief. The lieutenant at the time when I started, and the captain at the time when I started, are now the assistant chief and chief at this fire department. They both had an equal hand in me being where I'm at today. So, and then for them to move up, and for us to move up behind them, and then be able to be the driver. One of my best friends was, and still one of my best friends, is the captain of that shift, man, that was awesome. Um, and he allowed me to really he was a big part of allowing me to step out and start being what I knew I wanted to be and what I needed to be. Then I got involved with other folks. I reached back out to some people that had some influence on me when uh, years ago in the fire service. Don Sapp, um, man, he's always been good to me, been a great friend. Reached back out to him. We got linked back up, hooked back up, and Brian Altman. Um, Don got me hooked up with Jay Hurley and Jason Painter out in West Georgia. Man, those guys, and when I really started watching what they were doing and how they cared about each other, but how they cared about the fire service and how they do things. That is where it really, I said, man, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And excuse me, and that's when and it started really coming full circle. And then all this has happened so quick. Um, it's overwhelming at times because I don't consider myself no different than anybody else. I love the opportunity to help somebody all the time, no matter who it is, especially if it's got something to do with the fire service. If it's got something to do with somebody who's struggling personally, I want them to know that they've got somebody that, they can come to and help them. And so that's where it all this stems from. And um, being able to take and I made up my mind. I said, I want to be able to take. I get the luxury and privilege to be involved with all these great firefighters, all these great guys in the fire service. How do I take and get all and create a culture where I'm at to get them connected and to be a part of things like they're doing out in West Georgia or what they do in Chatsworth, Georgia. I mean, all these places that I talk about, man, they had it. It's very, it's they motivated me to do these things and be where I'm at today. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to take and give everybody else the opportunity to be a part of that too. So it's kind of like if you want to be a part of it, man. It's kind of like Uncle Sam. We want you. This isn't a draft. Just don't be afraid to ask. Kind of mentality. And so, but the thing was that really, I seen that was a lot of the old fire service. It was almost it was tough to show that we care. It was okay for us to care about each other, good or bad. And I've never been the type of person that could keep anything in. So I kind of picked up, this mentality is and started saying it and putting it down places, writing it on things in the station, writing it in places, and it's okay to care about each other. And and it kind of started to take off a little bit. People started saying, "Oh, it's okay." Then we started talking and become more personal with each other. And when people trust you, it don't matter if you're their officer, if you're their chief, if you're just a firefighter with them. Before you can ever expect anybody to do anything, to work hard, to push themselves, they got to know you give a shit about them. They got to know you care. And because if they know you care about them, good or bad in their life, they don't want to disappoint you. They do not want to disappoint you. The same way feeling that I have that when I fail, I know I disappoint myself, and I feel you don't want to disappoint the others that you look up to. And so it's all of these things is what's brought all of this full circle, which is pretty cool because now what it's allowed us to do, well, is to do these kind of things together. We got a whole group of people, man, that 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 love doing firemanship. This is give them an opportunity to get out of their comfort zone or get out of that shell they were in to come be a part of something that I get to be a part of with them and watch them get better. So that's the reward side of it for me. So so I took today and sent out some, that message, and got, man, the responses I got back is the stuff that I knew that I would get back, man. That's not being cocky. That's just telling the truth. Let's see. And a lot of this, I got so many things on here that they've texted me today and this afternoon, this evening, which lets us fall into more things and get more of these people on, because I feel as important as this is for me and you, I feel like that this gives this opportunity for everybody else to take and put their passion out there, if that makes sense. So what do you think? What do you, since we started the fire class in Livonia in January, how has it impacted your personal life and where you're at today?
I One of the biggest things I remember from that first night is you know, all of us just sitting there super quiet, and nobody was talking, nobody saying a word to each other. Uh and you just said, in a couple of weeks we're not going to be able to shut you guys up. No, we were all sitting there like, yeah, sure, whatever. And within 2 weeks, sure enough, we're all cutting up, laughing, just having a good time. Just because it's that, like you said, you don't want to disappoint the people that care about you.
Right.
And within those just 2 weeks, I mean, it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 days. Within
Right.
4 days, we were cutting up, caring about each other. It's just because we all knew that we were in it together, we were all learning together.
Right.
And I know, speaking from personal experience, it was before that there wasn't really any personal accountability on my end, just because at that point I was just kind of like a freelancer, doing my own thing out there in the world. Just the only person I had to disappoint or approve of was myself.
Right.
And being a part of a team, being a part of a family, it's you're held to a higher standard. It's like now I constantly think about what I'm doing, because how not only it will reflect on myself, but how it'll reflect on you,
Right.
how it'll reflect on everybody in this house, how it'll reflect on everybody that when I wear that sweatshirt, everybody else who wears that sweatshirt, that
Everybody's held to the same standard.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's the humbling side for me, is because every time that I look around, I mean, I don't never. It's very, very rare that I round a corner in Habersham County, or at home, that I don't see the back of that sweatshirt. And the back of that sweatshirt is a kick in the nuts for me. There's some days it's just humbling as shit, man. It's just it's so humbling. And then there's some days I just look at it, and there's several of those statements in there that it kind of catches you back, and you go, damn, man, I hadn't always been that person. And that alone is, it's the emotions that come with that is, but the one that never I see every day, and I used to take for granted, and still do, and I don't want to say that, I don't say that with pride, is my wife and my kids. To save lives and protect property. Of course, that's what we're supposed to do, right? But and then when I got to promote up into the position I'm at now, it's different when you're not just dealing with one shift. When you're not on one shift anymore. When you're dealing with everybody in the department now. You go through the ups and downs, goods and bads, highs and lows with everybody, and and so you see and hear so much, and sometimes it is tough to be that person that everybody expects you to be. But then I look and see where it saves lives and protect property. And I tell people all the time, my wife's even told me, I've said before, I've been a selfish bastard. I've been selfish at the fire service. You know, I put it first for so long, and I still do. I know I do at times. I've tried to, I really sincerely try to do better for my wife and my family, my kids. But there was a time to where I can honestly say I didn't consider them first every time. And, you know, it's I tell you, one of the most humbling things with this sweatshirt or this Bearers of the Oath Code of Honor and these sweatshirts over the last few months is seeing my wife walk around with one of those hoodies on all the time. That, you know, because the fire service is, my wife, she knows the fire service, she knows it better than anybody, honestly. But the fire service my family has played second fiddle to the fire service at times. And I'm being truthful. I'm not being prideful here when I say this. I'm being truthful. And so to see my wife wear that makes me feel like that I'm doing a little bit better because she wears it too. And that's big, man. That's not only everybody else that wears them, but my wife to wear it. So, you know, the original ones were black with white letters, and then we had some sand with black letters, and then I had I had some made that were navy and with white letters, and then a couple red ones, because anybody knows me knows red's my favorite color, and I had a couple red ones made, and I noticed one of them got missing, and I didn't know where it was. Well, next thing I know, my wife's got it on all the time. You know, which is cool. That's cool. But that's, you know what, that to me, her wearing that red sweatshirt kind of is like the white helmet to me. That's the ultimate respect, is my wife wearing that red sweatshirt with that code of honor on it. Because, you know, the handshake on the front, man, that's, you know, there's a lot to that handshake, and a lot of people don't know, because the fire service, there's so much history with the fire service, and the handshake, man, is, and that fire marker, you know, that's important to any fire, any new recruiter, any new fire, any new somebody that's getting into the fire service. Fire service orientation and history is important, and it's just not even being taught like it should anymore, in my opinion. Again, my opinion is some folks they're not going to like it, and that's okay. But, you know, the fire service has a lot of history that is crucial and should be impactful to where we are today. And that handshake on the front of it means as much to me as the code of honor that's on the back of it. So it's pretty humbling. There's something cool that I know I haven't yet talked about was, so I thought that when this Bears the Oath deal, I thought, you know, man, I said, I don't want this to be me. I don't want this to be just me be associated with it. So I got to thinking about some guys that that stood out to me, you know, and there was four guys that really had just sat on my heart. One of them again was Jonathan Jordan. He was my captain at Toccoa. He's still a captain there. I wanted him to be. I asked him if he would be a part of it with me too, because I didn't want it to be just like I was trying to start some kind of social movement or some bullshit like that. I wanted these guys to believe in it too, and if they did, if the guys that I looked to and trusted, and if they believed in it, that, you know, they would help promote it, and that it wasn't just the mind of one person. You know what I'm saying? So Lee Humphreys, he was, you know, me and him, we spent a lot of time getting to know each other. We've known each other for a long time, but we got to know each other a lot over the last, I guess, year and a half. when I came up here to Habersham County to work at the city of Cornelia, he came and asked if he came on as part time. Man, just talking, just spending time talking to him. You know, I went to him and asked him. You know, Humpy's something else. Anybody knows Humpy? He's something else. He's his own character. Each one of these guys, man, they had their own different character. You know, all of them had their own different character. They had their own different story. They had everything that I wanted to have. So many different images to be a part of it. But the root of all of it was that everybody had the same fire and desire. You know, firemen. They're just fucking firefighters, man. Firefighter shit. You know, and so another guy, Richie Tebow. I met him over the last year through another friend, and he would come around the station, you know, and we got to knowing each other, and we got to talking, and there was just something about him, you know, and I got to learning about him, and we got to talking, and you know, one day we were out in the engine bay having a conversation, and knowing what he had done before the fire service. You know, it was just ultimate respect for anybody that you know, that gives herself to our nation to protect it in the military and services, but just that smile the guy had, you know, and you know, he's real. He just, you know, I liked that how real he was. I liked that, you know, he was about the fire service. I liked, man, that grin he had it. And the more and more we talked, I just thought, you know what, I was sitting here one day and he came by and we got talking about it, and I asked him, I said, man, would you like to be a part of this with me? I said, I want us all to get together and come up with this stuff, and then you know, I felt like there was some more that needed to be involved in it, and then we got hooked up with Scott Sanders. He's captain at Gwinnett County. Captain Sanders, man, he's something else. He's a nut, man. He's a firefighter. He's a badass firefighter, man. He's just a good guy. It's eat up with the fire service. Anybody that wears their air pack in their garage in underwear is a firefighter. And, you know, I got to spend some time with him down at Gwinnett County, and got to watching just his enthusiasm, and we got to talking and sharing conversations with one another, and, you know, I just kind of felt like, and he's another one, and, you know, and then you got Brian Altman, and then, you know, it just keeps getting better and better, man. All these great guys that's become a part of it, and it's simply about that fraternity of firemanship. You know, you being a part of it now, watching you, man, it's been fun. And I remember when we first started fire class, Chief Obar, he's the fire chief at Livonia Fire Department. Real good friend of mine. The reason I'm in the fire service, actually, truthfully, to be known, he is the reason I'm in the fire service. But he asked me one night, he said, is he going to be able to do this? And I looked at him and I said, we'll find out. And I turned and looked at him again. I said, he'll do it. And he said, well, he's got our gear on. And he looked at me and he said, he's got our gear on, which is Livonia Fire Department gear. And if anybody doesn't know Daniel, hadn't seen him, he's not the biggest of fellas. So we just happened to have a set of gear that fit him. And to me, it's a privilege and honor to wear turnout gear anywhere, much less Livonia Fire Department gear, because that's where I got started. That's, you know, and how it was put to me when the Chief Beasley came by and talked to me one day years ago and asked if I'd be interested in joining the fire service, joining Livonia Fire Department. I'll never forget, he told me, he said, it's a privilege to be on Livonia Fire Department. And I didn't know nothing about fire service, fire department, firemen. I didn't know nothing about it at the time. And I said, okay. And he said, you know, it's got a deep tradition and history of you have to be from Livonia, work in Livonia, or, you know, have family ties, because we got a lot of third generation members at Livonia. And I said, man, I'd love to. And I didn't realize then, when he said that, it took years for me to realize what he said that night, that day, what it meant. I understand it. You know, I understand it today better than I did I definitely understand it today better than I did then. So, you know, him stopping by that day and talking to me, taking time out just to come by and see me, was, I didn't understand then, but I do now. And that's kind of like went back with that night when Scott said he's got our gear on, and I said he'll be fine, and it's been nothing but inspiration, and it's watching you do what you've done just goes to prove that anybody who wants to do this job can do it. And so I appreciate your commitment. I appreciate everything you've done to help to get us where we're at today with this. So, but man, I could go on all night long and talk about why why I am where I am today, the people that has got me here, but I feel like that should be there's so many stepping stones, and people that need to come on this podcast with us as we grow it and put it out there, because I want this to be. I listen to podcasts daily, and there's so many good podcasts out there. Matthew Broom, he's a firefighter at Gwinnett County, 2448 podcast. He's recently started it up. I was humbled again today. He reached out to me today and asked if I would take and be interested in being on his podcast as a guest, and that's just humbling, And of course, I told him I'd be glad to. So, but we have some of the things that I feel like that we need to emphasize that needs to be important with what's going on and what we're about with this podcast when it comes to the fire service is what is important and what it takes to be a great firefighter. And that's simply the work that's required for anybody to put into it, not for recognition, but because they want to do the job, what it takes to do the job. There's I'm sitting here looking at all the comments they're still coming in. Are y'all recording? Right now, one of them says, are y'all recording? And as we get better with this, when Daniel starts working his magic with it, we'll take and progress it. But some of the things that, let me just read some of the things that these guys sent out today. What I put out today was Bearers of the Oath will be recording the first podcast tonight. Any questions, comments, or topics you would like for us to address or labor on, please feel free to reply to this post, and we will do what we can to make sense out of what you think. So, and I knew that some things would come in. Like I said, Chief Hurley reached out, and that meant a lot. One of my good friends, Brian Altman, Lee Humphreys, Josh Wilson, Tommy Rivers, Sean Duffy, Scott Sanders, AJ Zerzolo, Hall County guys. Man, there is so many badass dudes that are all around us. And you know what these guys love to do? They love to do work. They love to work. They love to take and put whatever it takes into being better. And when you get to be around a group of guys like that constantly, they make me want to be better all the time. The body will do so much more than the mind will allow it to do. But damn, it makes it so much better when you're encouraged and you got all these guys around you that support you, and they want to be a part of you, and I want to be a part of them, and they're all about the same thing that we're about. So some of the things that's going to be coming that we're going to be talking about is definitely engine work, man. First due engine work, that first due crew. Some of the things, searching, opinions on searching. There's so many different opinions on search and rescue. When to, when not to. Searchability versus survivability. If you haven't heard Dustin Martinez, if you get the opportunity to listen to anything that Dustin Martinez says, he is phenomenal. Like I said, there's so many awesome guys that it's just a privilege to be a part of what they get to do. So, Sean Duffy, man, that dude is I've been watching him, and he's inspiring. He's inspiring to watch his stuff, to watch his passion. Um, so it's exciting. It's neat to see what's coming. So we'll get into the next episode. We'll start having some topics that we're going to take and addressing, and start having some guests on here, lining it up. When you guys hear this, see this, I think Red, you're going to put it on. How you going to stream the media?
Right now, all of our episodes will be uploaded to YouTube, and then we'll have segments posted to our Facebook group, Facebook page, and then hopefully in the future they will be on the all major podcast platforms.
Man, that'd be great. I don't. If any you guys have any suggestions, ideas, please let us know. Bears of the Oath webpage. Reach out to us. Redbird Media Group on Facebook. He's as much a part of this as I am. So this is his creation. What he does is going to be the footprint of this and how it goes. So, but we want to hear what everybody thinks. We want to hear your questions and suggestions, topics. We want to hear what you guys want to talk about. We're going to shoot to do this on shift every episode. I think that's the cool thing about it, because sooner or later we're going to be interrupted by tones, and we're going to have to take a pause and come back, and we'll pick right up where we're at, whether it's 9 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to tell you about the job we went on. And we're going to break the job down where we made mistakes and where we can get better at it. Who was it earlier? It said something. Josh Wilson. He said proper scene size up in the pros on doing 360 walk around. That's and it's the thing about it is whether you're a 2-man engine crew, 1-man engine crew, 3-man, if you have the luxury of having 3 or 4 on an engine, man, on a first due engine, there is so much that can be done and accomplished within that first 2 minutes, 3 minutes of arrival and scene size up, whether it's throwing ladders, stretching lines, doing a proper size up, placing the engine, catching your A, B, and D side, and possible. Man, it's endless of how we can make ourselves better. It's crazy to see the comments is still coming in on this, and decision making for Kenyon Levine. That guy said he said decision making for the first arriving companies. If you guys don't sit and tactfully talk about first arriving companies with your mutual aid departments, and sometimes that is a touchy, tough subject with mutual aid departments, running mutual aid. But, that culture can be changed too. I assure you it can be, because I've watched that happen. Relatively simple to do, but you have to train together. You have to take you take 4 of the best dudes, man. One of them's going to be weak. Everybody has weaks, their weak points and limitations, and man, that's what you got to build off of. And that's, because everybody has something they bring to the table. And don't matter what color helmet you wear, you got to be able to recognize who the strong point is at that point in time. You got to benefit from that. And I think that's the culture of the people that's actually part of this whole program now. Everybody has that in mind, and how can we be better at doing this job? So there's something else I want to do too. I want to, we're partnering this thing up with Build Your Culture and Sean Duffy. We've been talking, of course, Brian Altman, Brothers of the Craft, Blake Stinnett with Next Rung. We've been talking and partnering up with talking about doing some things with Next Rung and Open Bell, which is, that's a whole nother avenue of the fire service that that can be addressed and needs to be awareness on. But there's so many good dudes and good organizations, so many good little things like Bears of the Oath, Build Your Culture, First Do Firemanship, Do Your Part training, Cobb County Search Cadre, you know, all these different programs that's throughout the state. Uh, and all these guys, all you have to do is reach out to them. They will come to you. They will help you. Their phones are there, man. If it's from Thomasville, Georgia to Corey Thompson to West Georgia, Bremen Fire Department, man, those guys out there. If it's up 85, 75, out I-20, man, there's good dudes all over this state and that's how the culture is becoming what it is in the fire service. So I think it's great that you've come into it, Daniel, and you're seeing just this side of it. Because there is a side to the fire service that a lot of us have been through that, it's just like everything else has struggles, but everything has struggles. So what's your goal for you in the fire service?
I think my biggest goal with coming through all this is I don't know. I started it with just having a sense of purpose and doing something that mattered. But as going through it and becoming the family that we are now and the brotherhood that there is, I think it's just I don't know. It's at the point now where it's all still fresh and new, and so I have things that I want to do and things that I'd like to do in the future, but at the same time, I didn't realize that the fire service was my future 6 months ago.
Right.
And so I'm adaptable and I'm ready for anything.
Right. I didn't either, man. I was I got in the fire service because I got tired of all my buddies hanging around the damn fire pagers going off and them leaving and going to the firehouse to run calls, and I stuck there with all the women cooking. And people laugh at that, but that's, I got tired of getting left behind, and next thing you know, I got the opportunity through Chief Beasley and some of the guys I was talking about Chief Obar, to get, to have the opportunity to join Livonia Fire Department. Then within, I think about 6 months later, that first 6 months of being on as a volunteer at Livonia, I got hired on as a paid firefighter at the city of Toccoa. It hit me that hard. I wanted to learn. I needed, I was intrigued and wanted to learn how to do this job. And it's been amazing. It's the best job you could ever want, in my opinion. It's been awesome. And to see where it's at now is it's exciting. So, but there are some things that I do want to do. We want to take and get ready to end this for the evening. Hopefully this is a good forefront. I think maybe this was what the way to start it. I don't know. I was kind of curious on how we should start it tonight, and I guess I just started rambling, talking about things. But anybody that does know me knows that I love helping people. I love giving things away. And stand by just a second. 12. Station 12. Yep. So, like I said, we're on shift, and you can hear the radio in the background, tones dropping for one of the neighboring stations.
Station 12, respond to decreased LOC and physical degrading, 144 Mount Zion connector, 144 Mount Zion connector off of Gainesville Highway, time out of dispatch 2203.
So, anybody that knows me knows that I love giving things away. I love, especially fire related stuff. If I can take and give somebody something and it benefits them and helps them, I'm all for it, man, because I feel like that the relationships I built on the other side of the fire service with the sales and distribution, man, I'm constantly getting all kinds of stuff, and I'm always about taking what's given, what I've got, and passing it forward to other departments and other firefighters that need stuff or want stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to give something away every show. We got to figure out how the platform we're going to do that is. But I can tell you on these, we won't do it on this show, but we'll make up for it on the next podcast, number 2. We'll give 2 things away. One of them will be a Bears of the Oath sweatshirt. And one will be a 30-inch Pro Bar Halligan tool. So we'll take and figure out how we're going to do that, but we're going to take and somebody's going to get something every show. And they might be, no telling what it'll be, but we're going to give away something every show. I'm all about tools. I'm all about taking and making anything I got available to anybody in the fire service. And anybody, anything, any props we got, anything we have, we'll take and we'll bring it to you. I'll bring it to you. And I think that's cool. I think that's what you're supposed to do. Because I have been very fortunate to have some of the outlets that I have in the fire service. And so next show, next podcast we're going to do, we'll shoot for one day next week, see what we figure out, see what kind of kinks we can work out on this.
COPD and CHF, advising of difficulty in breathing and also oxygen. Advised that she's been disoriented, unable to focus all day. Callers had trouble rousing her and keeping her awake. Advising of also shaking and cold sweats, but no to all other COVID questions. Outside lights should be on a blue house.
That's all right. We can end it from here.
Next on the right, Mount Zion connector coming from Gainesville Highway. Send your red number 2306, 2306.
I'll send you a picture. I got that. But anyhow, we're still live. So what we'll do is next show, we'll take and post when we're going to do it later this week or beginning of next week. For those of you that listen to it, man, thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for supporting us, being a part of it. Please, please contribute your thoughts, disagreements, opinions, anything, man, we can talk about to make ourselves better and make the fire service better. Let's do it. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out a way to take and to create something positive out of it. But we will give away a 30-inch Pro Bar and a Bears of the Oath hoodie. I know it's getting warm, but everybody likes hoodies. We got T-shirts on the way too, some pretty cool T-shirts coming. So we'll sign off from here. Thank you guys so much for listening. We look forward to your comments and what your thoughts are on the first trailer, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.